Good morning, wrestling fans. PWR Today. It is Wednesday morning. It's July 8th, 2020, along with Matthew Thomas on the man they call Meathead. And folks, make sure you're doing all the business for us. Getting that like, getting that subscribe. If you haven't done so already, get notified when new content is coming up. I know there's a Be the Booker coming up as well. I think the Be the Booker was over an hour long from what Dave said yesterday morning with Shane Helms about tonight's big wrestling night. We've got Great American Bash. We've got Fyter Fest Week 2. Matthew Thomas, good morning. We got a lot to talk about.
Good morning. We're going into another week of a pay-per-view caliber doubleheader.
Yeah, doubleheader. Now, we'll see how things turn out tomorrow morning. Maybe Damian Nelson will show up. Maybe he'll blow up. I don't know. But at least Tuesday nights,
Wait. Blow up like Vince? Like Vince's limo did that time?
No. Tuesday nights, we talk about it, and we arrange our Wednesday morning call to get this show on the road. So Wednesday mornings is always a morning for Matthew Thomas. So, Matthew, good morning. Folks, we are at PWR and Pro Wrestling Report, since 98, really. We try to be a spoiler-free zone. I know that the finish to the NXT main event is out there. It's possible they change it, but we will not talk about that finish. I just want you to know right now, we will not be blowing that for you, and that's my promise to you, Matthew. Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't, but who would spoil such a thing?
It was somebody on site. Tweeted out a picture or Instagrammed a picture of the celebration.
Oh, celebration.
Of something.
I mean, related to the NXT event or just somebody celebrating in the parking lot?
Maybe.
Could have been a birthday. It could have been a birthday for all we know.
Happy birthday to you. A little Stevie Wonder on your ass. Happy birthday. All right. That's enough of that. All right. So let's start with AEW first, okay? Fyter Fest Week 2. What did you think? First off, I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit, but what did you think? Let's do it again. Week 1 of AEW Fyter Fest.
I enjoyed it. I mean, it felt like I said pay-per-view caliber. Let me walk that back a little bit. It felt like a Clash of Champions.
Oh, so the free ones that were on TBS?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's kind of the feeling that I got walking away from it.
But enjoyed. I absolutely enjoyed the show.
That's not a slight in the least. It just it felt like, your free TV that is going to matter, that you're booking towards, you're booking to this special event. So and I was very very happy with the way I felt coming out of it.
Oh, let's not forget Damian Nelson, and for everybody else in the PWR draft, Fyter Fest will not count towards any points in the PWR draft. Matthew, you were aware, of course.
Yeah, I was aware of that. And here's another thing too. I mean, when, if ever, have we had two events like that? Two very important events on opposite. I mean, Clash of the Champions used to be on. Was it traditionally Thursdays? It was a midweek show, right?
Yeah, it was a Thursday show on TBS normally. Yeah.
And I mean, we had Raw and Nitro, but as far as these free TV pay-per-view caliber type of deals, I mean, we've never really had anything running opposite the other. So it's really cool to see, these two companies that are putting on these matches that, they've been booking towards that matter on opposite each other.
I love it. So let's talk about some of the matches. It was supposed to be 5, I believe, matches that were set up for Fyter Fest Week 2. One of those matches have been pushed to next week. That is going to be Brian Cage, the challenger, against the champion Jon Moxley. Renee Young is COVID positive, so he is self-quarantining and was not able to make the show. So, and that's fine. We get it. We understand. What that led to, honestly, was by far a jaw-dropping moment. I mean, in the COVID era, jaw-dropping, but Taz dropping his promo that he did last week where he said, we don't run a sloppy shop or slop shop. We know what we're doing. We're here. And Moxley, we know you're running scared. We know you're running and hiding. You're afraid of this man, and this man's going to kill you. I absolutely, oh my God. Again, I got the shakes a little bit just listening to Taz because I felt that was some literal ECW promo from Taz right there.
Yeah, and he's doing really outstanding work as a mouthpiece. I mean, talking about ECW era, I mean, this is reminding me a lot of kind of what we're seeing with Heyman. They've got their big guy that they're speaking for. Taz has really stepped up to the plate. I've been blown away by Taz's work as a manager in this regard. I think they're doing a good thing with Cage too, just having him that big,
Cage is doing
intimidating
great
guy.
work.
Yeah,
I thought he was amazing just standing behind Taz. Now,
Yeah.
it doesn't take a lot of talent, but it does take talent to stand there and look the way you're supposed to look. And Brian Cage was phenomenal.
Yeah, Cage is one of those guys that's, I mean, a big guy that can frickin' move. I mean, his athleticism is top-notch stuff, So this is somebody to watch here in this main event spot.
This is a big week, really. I'm thinking Brian Cage, and Slammiversary's this Saturday as well. How did the second week of July turn out to be this hotbed of wrestling?
It's a good question. It's I don't know if it was necessarily by design, but it's kind of where we're at right now.
It is the week 24 years ago. What happened on July 6, 1996?
July 6th. Let's see, 96 would have been.
Who was the third man?
Oh, that's right. Bash at the Beach. I was thinking August of 96 for some reason, but
August was always Hog or Road Wild.
Yep. No, that's right. That's right.
Bash is July.
Not
the Great American Bash, but the Bash at the Beach.
What a monumental event in the history of wrestling that I believe we covered a few years back on our Nitro Reaction show.
We did, and we reacted big time. Mean Gene just going off on Hogan. All right, so let's talk Fyter Fest again. So here's the matches that we have that we're aware of, and there could be more, obviously. We've got Lance Archer with Jake the Snake Roberts in his corner, taking on the bad boy, Joey Janela. How do you see this one playing out?
Archer all the way.
In a thrashing?
Yeah.
Does Janela get any?
I don't think Janela's going to get much offense in. I mean, I think it may be some, but probably 70-30 at best.
Okay.
Archer's somebody that, he's top of the card talent. They're pushing like that. And I don't see much, Janela's been one of those guys that has just kind of been hanging around the mid card that they don't seem to be afraid to pin a loss on. Losses with Janela really don't seem to make much of a difference. He's kind of that mid card feature that, is the hardcore guy that I don't feel like they're too concerned with his win-loss record right now, especially going up against somebody like Archer. So,
sure.
Expect to see him take some crazy spots, but I feel like this is going to be a borderline squash match.
It's funny that you said Lance Archer is a top-level main event kind of guy. He definitely has some prominence to him. I would say that he's, the high mid-card where, he just had his program with Cody as far as a TNT championship run. I don't know what's going to happen for him after Joey Janela. And then Joey Janela obviously is just a match for him to be on TV.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason too. Him coming off of his first roll loss like that, you've got to keep him strong. So you've got to have him win in in pretty strong fashion here. Let's
talk about the 6-man tag. SCU, SoCal Uncensored, taking on the Dark Order. One of the members of the Dark Orders, boom, boom. Colt Cabana, boom, boom. Colt Cabana. How far is this Colt Cabana Dark Order thing going to go?
I don't know, but I really like it because he's the last person on that roster that you would expect to be, in rubbing elbows with the Dark Order. So I don't mind them taking it all the way through, even having him join, because that's what the Dark Order is. The Dark Order, they're going after those guys that, have been underutilized or just been kind of hanging around that mid-card level. And to see that with, Colt Cabana since premiering earlier this year.
Boom.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Say his name again.
Colt Cabana.
Boom, boom. Sorry, it entertains me.
As well it should. So I look for the Dark Order to go over here, and maybe we don't definitively get, Colt Cabana joining, but I don't see this going the route of Colt walking away and, saying I'm going to do my own thing. I think Colt gets really close if he doesn't all out join the Dark Order.
How about FTR and the Young Bucks teaming against the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade? I quietly on the side like the Butcher and the Blade. I really think they have a unique kind of look. I mean, you got the Monopoly guy, then you got a bald-headed guy with a beard.
Interesting. Although a common misconception, the Monopoly guy never had a monocle.
When did it get added?
No, it was never. There's never been a monocle there.
Really? So it wasn't just a misconception of what Scrooge McDuck?
Very, very possible, but a common Mandela effect. Many people remember the Monopoly Man with a monocle. Monopoly Man has never had a monocle.
It's funny because I hear Jim Carrey going, "Do not pass go. Do not collect $200."
Yep, exactly. And I mean, that was the interpretation there. I mean, that was the reference. That's why it was made. But no, apparently, at least in this universe, the Monopoly Man never had a monocle.
So we're gonna have to do the Monopoly, the Hasbro multiverse. All right, let's talk about my guy that I'm pulling for against my guy that I've always pulled for. It's freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy taking on Le Champion Chris Jericho. You know, as much as I have always been a Jericho guy, I kind of want Orange Cassidy to get this big marquee win.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think the potential is definitely there because you've got Jericho calling out Tyson again next week. Perfect spot for Tyson to interfere, have Orange Cassidy go over, build to whatever they're going to do with Jericho and Tyson. And Orange Cassidy, is he the most over person in professional wrestling right now?
That's a loaded question.
He might be, because here's the thing. I mean,
how are we gauging over anymore? There's no crowd.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, you've really got no gauge. I mean, I feel so bad. I mean, Drew McIntyre has never had a crowd since he won his title. You know, there's no way to gauge this champion is on crowd reaction, and I guess what you gauge over with now is probably just overall buzz, just overall the pulse of what people like us, what people online are talking about. And I feel like if anybody has made those strides to getting over during this period where you really can't gauge it, but you just use whatever you can to kind of see what the pulse of the audience is. I feel like Cassidy might be one of the most talked about people currently.
Speaking of talking about, let's talk about the NXT Great American Bash, night 2 as well. Again, I still believe it to be ultra corny that this all of a sudden became a Great American Bash after Fyter Fest was announced. However, let's talk about it. Isaiah Swerve Scott's facing Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano should win this because Johnny Gargano has got this, this heel steam behind him, but you never know. I mean, they might give this to Isaiah Swerve Scott. And to be honest, I don't think he goes anywhere with a win. But Johnny Gargano goes pretty far down if he gets a loss.
Yeah. And you've got to keep that in mind here. So I'd be surprised if Gargano doesn't pick up the win.
You know what I'm looking forward to is Drake Maverick and Breezango facing Legado del Fantasma in a 6-man tag team match. We did a little research here at PWR, and of course I might be late to the game here. Do you know who's in this Legado del Fantasma? That is an old familiar face?
I'll
give you a hint.
No. Oh.
DJ Z.
Really?
Yeah.
DJ Z, huh?
Yeah, and you know what? He looks the part. He's looking cut. He's looking ready to go. So I'm excited to see this. And Breezango, I do miss the SmackDown bits. I mean, why are they still in NXT? If SmackDown and Raw in front of no crowd are so, light on talent, send them back up there again.
Well,
make them the fashion, please.
And to kind of wrap it back around to what we were just talking about, it has not been that many WrestleManias ago since Fandango went over Jericho.
Yeah, absolutely. Fandango. And, the Prince of Pretty, Tyler Breeze, with his camera and his selfie stick and all that other stuff. Who knows? Mia Yim takes on Candice LeRae in a street fight at the Great American Bash. This will be something. These girls, probably my favorite female hardcore match, if you will. I want you to go all the way back in the annals, excuse me. I want you to go all the way back in annals and look for what was Tori's last name? Tori, the one that hung out with DX. She was with X-Pac. I don't remember.
Hey, it took me long enough last week to remember Claire Lynch. How do you think I'm going to pull that out of the annals?
The annals. The Tori that was with X-Pac in Degeneration X was in a match with Victoria, Tara, whatever you're calling her, but they had an insane hardcore match way back in the day before the women were even doing it. I mean, before they introduced the Divas title. This was back in the era of them still doing mud wrestling matches.
Yeah.
So, looking to see what Mia Yim has for Candice LeRae in the street fight tonight at the Great American Bash. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, this will be fun. This will be fun. It's really hard to kind of predict which way this goes. I mean, I don't think a win necessarily skyrockets anybody. I don't think a loss necessarily hurts anybody. I mean, they've done a pretty significant repackaging of Candice LeRae here, so I feel like that might be the likely way this one goes.
Okay. Let's talk main event. It's the first time it's ever going to happen in NXT. It is champion versus champion. Winner gets both belts. The NXT champion, Adam Cole. The North American champion, Keith Lee. Somebody's coming away with 2 belts. Who do you got?
I'm having a really hard time predicting this. I mean, here's the thing. Keith Lee, my thought process here is I think Keith Lee's main roster ready at the moment. And a
COVID era main roster or main roster?
Main roster, even more so in the COVID era, because you've got to, I feel like, and we got a few surprises a couple of nights ago, but I feel like surprises are definitely needed, and you've got to switch it up. You've got to have things to keep people interested in the COVID era. So a Keith Lee loss right here with a quick entrance to the main roster would not surprise me. That's how I would do it. Oh man, I don't feel like that's what they do though. I think they still try to capitalize on Keith Lee in NXT for a little while longer. So that being said, I think the right move is to have Keith Lee lose and join the main roster. But I think Keith Lee will actually win both belts.
So it'll be Keith 2 belts again, because we've had this run of the last year and a half of 2 years of people having 2 belts. You got Bayley 2 belts. You got Sasha 2 belts, which is what she's trying for. You're trying to have Keith Lee 2 belts, or Adam Cole 2 belts, or Becky Lynch 2 belts, 2 belt Becky.
The problem is I just don't see what they gain out of this. I mean, maybe there's something that I'm not looking at, that I can't see. But
do you think they move Adam Cole up to the main roster, or do they keep him in NXT as well? Because if Adam Cole loses his belt, what else does he have to do?
Yeah,
the Undisputed Era has made their mark.
See, that's the thing, though. I feel like Keith Lee on the main roster is a much bigger impact at this moment than Adam Cole. I mean, Keith Lee, that's the guy that got the stare down with Brock Lesnar back at the Rumble. I think that's the guy that I think if there's anybody on the NXT roster right now that could make an impact, it's Keith Lee. I think that's the guy that makes the jump. Well, maybe I should change it back. Maybe I should change my prediction back.
Okay. It's fine. So here we're in the COVID era. I mean, I guess I really asked the wrestling fan question now. It doesn't matter anymore, because the only difference between the Raw and SmackDown and NXT brand, because they've built NXT so much that we can't tell the difference, is probably per diem. That's it. Per diem and extra pay-per-views.
So I've decided to stick with my prediction. I think Keith Lee wins, just based on what you typically see when the roster jumps are made. I don't feel like they necessarily stop such a meteoric push and move him to the roster. So Keith Lee's walking away with both belts.
And again, like I said, if that's the case, I believe you move Adam Cole. He's done what he has to do. Adam Cole could have great matches against anybody on either brand, but they really, I mean, we could sit here and try to just dissect this even more. They really need somebody Keith Lee's size to go up to one of these 2 brands to wrestle one of the 2 champions who are also just big guys. You put an Adam Cole up there, you're going to tell me Adam Cole against Braun Strowman is a match that I have to believe in?
Yeah, and I mean, not even that. You look at who Keith Lee could work with at present moment. You know, even people outside of the title picture. I mean, Keith Lee and a Lashley would interest me. Keith Lee and, of course, Lesnar.
Lashley's not even the most over guy in his little group. His
Yeah.
manager is.
Yeah, Keith Lee MVP. Give me that. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, again, we got a big night tonight. We're hoping to hear from you. Make sure you're commenting. Make sure you're liking. Let us know what you think of this. Again, we've had 2 amazing weeks of wrestling. Plus, it wraps up this weekend. I hope you find a way to find Slammiversary from Impact Wrestling. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a couple guys that pop up there. I know we did see out on the intranet that Luke Gallows is sporting his Impact Wrestling shirt, looking just absolutely jacked. So, who knows? So, for the man they call Matthew Thomas, it's his buddy, the man they call Meathead. Thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.